Hey, it's Jason with Hardy Brothers Outdoors. I am in Southeast Ohio at the Habitat Oasis Project. I've got, whether you call it the darn barn or the garage mahal, I've got it in the background. And for those of you, I don't know if you've been following along or not with my barn nightmares, but this was a project started last week of October 2021. We are end of June now, so all kinds of nightmares. You can check out the videos for it. Anyway, taking way longer than expected, but the good news is the guy that I've got working on it now is really making progress for me. And you can see the metal's on, all except for right here around the door. He wants to pour the floor before he sets the door, and then he'll finish up the metal around the door, so that'll happen pretty fast. But I'm here today to finish running the tubing, the PEX tubing, for the radiant heat. So I'm going to take you inside, show you what we've done. I've got the majority of it done and ran out of time the last time I was here to finish it. So let's go inside. I will show you how we've laid it out and talk about what I've learned about radiant heat. Pretty cool stuff. So let's go take a look and we'll talk about it. All right, this is the view from the door, and there's a lot going on in here. I learned a whole lot. Had never done radiant heat. The contractor I'm using had never done it. He had some ideas of how to do it, but I spent some time learning the way we do these days, which is YouTube channels, and I'm pretty happy with how it's come out. So I'll tell you some of the basics. I bought my materials from a company out in Washington. So they shipped them to me. I actually got the best price on tubing was from them. So this is all 1/2 inch tubing. And as you look around, there are various patterns here. You can see curves and stuff. This was all designed by computer. I told it how big my barn was, put some specs in, and it said, this is how you lay it out. And a few of the things that I learned was this is not a continuous run. I've got 7 what they call loops. And a loop goes out, goes back and forth on the floor and returns to the manifold. And the key to having consistent heat in your barn or in your floor is that each of your loops should be about the same length. If they're not, say I've got a 200-foot loop and a 400-foot loop, the liquid going through the 400-foot loop is going to be cold after a certain number of feet. So it's going to stop heating. Say at 200 feet, it's cold. The rest of what it's doing back and forth in the floor is not providing any heat. The other is going to stay warm for the entire 200 feet. So you want all of your loops to be roughly the same length. And everything I've heard said within 10%. So I was also told by multiple people, I talked to a number of vendors, that you wanted to keep your loops under 300 feet. I also heard people say, hey, 500 is fine, but I'd rather be conservative, so I went with the 300. And actually mine are all between 280 and 290 feet. So this was literally me and another guy. I crawled around holding the tubing where I wanted it, and he used a special stapler that staples the PEX into this the foam on the floor. So to give you an idea what's in here, we started off by leveling the entire floor. We got it pretty level, just the dirt, and then we added sand to make it even more level. From there, we put 6 mil plastic as a vapor barrier, and then we put 2-inch foam on top of that to insulate the tubing from the ground. So I'm not losing heat to the ground. I want all my heat to radiate up, and I want it to stay warm. All right, Josh just left. He came over to help me with that last loop, and we have got it in place. While I was waiting on him this morning, I worked on the manifold. I'll walk you over and show you that. It's, I don't know, I think it's a pretty slick setup. So I chose to do the manifold midway down the end wall. And the interesting thing was, I'll take a picture here of the design that was computer generated. You can put that manifold anywhere you want, and the computer will redesign all your loops so they're about the same length. And I'll find the URL for where I found that software, but it was pretty slick. So if you look down here, we've got these black sleeves that will go under the concrete. They provide a nice transition for the tubing to come up from under the concrete up to the manifold. This particular manifold it's set up for 8 loops. I use 7, and on one of these, I'm going to install a thermostat wire. So I'll run a tube that'll go under the concrete, and we'll be able to put a wire down through that. What that will allow me to do is I'll be able to control the temperature for the boiler, either by air temperature or by concrete temperature. So, if you're gonna be working on the floor and you want the temperature to be a certain temperature, you can go with that. If you want to warm the entire barn up, you can go with that. But pretty slick. When you look at this, as I mentioned, it's got 8 valves on it. My warm air or warm fluid, it will come in through the bottom, go out, circulate through, and it'll return through the top and go back to the boiler to be reheated. There is a pressure gauge on each of the manifolds. And what I just got done doing was pressure testing the whole system. It's been holding right here at 40 pounds for about the last hour. One of the things that I did for testing, I closed all of the ports down, so all my loops were off. And then I opened them one at a time to make sure, one, I had airflow through it. I didn't want to think my system had been tested and find out that one of my loops had been closed and I was getting no airflow through it. So I opened them up one at a time. So I'd open it, check and make sure. I'd open this valve. When I heard a hiss, I knew I had air flowing through that loop. I'd then close that loop. I'd open the next one. I'd repeat that, and I did that for all 7 loops to make sure all of my loops were working. So I feel real good about it. Again, holding 40 pounds, it has been for a couple hours, or for about an hour, and feeling really good about where I'm at. So with that, I'm gonna go around. There's some spots here on the floor where some staples have come loose. I'm going to tighten those up with some additional staples, give my contractor a call, make sure that he knows we are ready for concrete. The goal is to get it in here next Wednesday or Thursday. So after concrete's down, I've got the garage doors lined up. They should be in the week of, hopefully I can get them out here 4th of July week. And then we'll start working on the outside, getting the driveway in, and we'll wrap it up. So thanks for joining. Hope you found that interesting. I've found this to be a very interesting project despite the aggravation. And join me next time to see the concrete process and watch it continue to progress.